Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
This day will be remembered as the day the people became the rulers of this nation again. That was President Trump beginning his first moments in office with a new mantra, America First. His speech to the crowds packing the mall for his inauguration was one of unabashed patriotism, but one, he insisted, that had no room for prejudice. And above it all, there was an appeal to the people who elected him. Hear these words, he told them. You will never be ignored again. With our first report tonight, our Washington correspondent, Kylie Morris.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President-elect of the United States, Donald John Trump.
Under cloudy skies on Capitol Hill at 11:59 local time, one of the most extraordinary journeys in America's modern political history peaked with the swearing-in of a brash property tycoon and former reality TV star.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
Alongside his wife, Melania, the Manhattan billionaire completed a transformation that once seemed unimaginable.
Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
In moments like these, the new president normally steps up to describe a hopeful vision of what lies ahead. But the time for hope seemed past, even as the rain began to fall.
Rusted out factories scattered like tombstones across the landscape of our nation. And the crime, and the gangs, and the drugs that have stolen too many lives and robbed our country of so much unrealized potential. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now.
As the former president gazed into middle distance, President Trump declared a new nationalist age in American politics.
We assembled here today are issuing a new decree to be heard in every city, in every foreign capital, and in every hall of power. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. America first.
This was far from a message of unity. There was no outreach to the other side. President Trump set a hard right course for a Christian America that would defend itself first against what he called out as its biggest threat.
We will reinforce old alliances and form new ones and unite the civilized world against radical Islamic terrorism, which we will eradicate completely from the face of the earth. There should be no fear. We are protected, and we will always be protected. And most importantly, we will be protected by God.
Crowds sheltering under plastic ponchos against the rain were modest compared to other inaugurations, perhaps a reflection of polling that he's an historically unpopular incoming president with an approval rating around 40%. But there was no shortage of enthusiasm from revelers arriving in the early morning. They streamed toward the Capitol building, thrilled to celebrate their new president.
I'm very excited because he's the people's president. We've elected him because he's not forgot the small man, the working man in the United States.
Keep America warm.
The biggest thing that's going to happen is they're going to get out of our way so we can make America great again. And that's
I think they need to shut up and listen.
Yeah.
Just shut up and listen.
President Obama stole a moment before leaving the Oval Office for the last time. In keeping with tradition, he left a letter in the drawer for his successor. Donald Trump says himself he's no reader, but perhaps he'll read it. Ever gracious, Michelle and Barack Obama on the White House stairs warmly greeted the new first couple, freshly arrived from church.
Mr. President-elect, how are you?
There was a slightly awkward moment over a gift wrapped in Tiffany blue. Where to put it, how to hold it. President Obama sorted it out. Any lingering awkwardness over the campaign waged by Donald Trump to launch his political career by wrongly insisting for years that his predecessor was born in Kenya, well, that went unmentioned.
How was church?
How was church? President Obama asked. But everyone's playing nice, just about, working to ensure the continuity of government. Just a week ago, President Trump tweeted that his former opponent Hillary Clinton was guilty as hell. But she turned out today and caught her breath, standing alongside her husband, President Bill Clinton, perhaps thinking of the 2.9 million extra people who voted for her rather than the man about to be president. President Bush was there also, his parents, though, too unwell to make the journey from Texas. An ever-smiling Jimmy Carter capped off the complement of past presidents. But more than 60 Democratic members of Congress chose to boycott the event, refusing to recognize President Trump's legitimacy.
Hello. Hello, everybody.
Whether they like it or not, since lunchtime, he's held the codes and has control of America's nuclear triad, as well as 4,000 nuclear warheads.
We will make America strong again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you.
The hardline tone of this inauguration will have unsettled those who hoped for a softening, even a pivot toward unity and reason. But the revolution those who voted for Donald Trump wanted has begun. The age of Obama is past. The age of Trump already underway.
And Kylie joins us live now here above the Capitol here. Kylie, power to the people was the sort of thread, but not quite the usage of the phrase that we've known in the past.
No, I mean, I think it was a strong mix, really, of the kind of economic nationalism we've come to expect of Donald Trump, but also referencing his kind of red meat populism. There were lots of lines for the crowd there. You know, I spoke to people who voted for him this morning, and they really turned up to hear this message that they were singularly significant to him. So this idea of a kind of pluralistic America, any sense of outreach to the other side, you know, that there could be some message of unity, that was noticeably absent from this. It was all about the people who had supported him, the fact that he would find a way to lift them up through his economic policies. And again, revisiting this usage of the term the forgotten man and the forgotten woman. He used it on the night that he won, and he used it again today.
January 20th, 2017 will be remembered as the day the people became the rulers of this nation again. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. Everyone is listening to you now. You came by the tens of millions to become part of a historic movement, the likes of which the world has never seen before.
Well, now, Kylie, given the unspoken hostility to his opponents, how long the honeymoon?
I think the honeymoon is already over, if it ever existed at all. I mean, there was no after. It's normal after you win, you reach out to your opponents. You might appoint a Democrat to cabinet. You know, so you'd certainly meet with Hillary Clinton. A week ago, he was still saying that she deserved to be locked up. We saw a very stony-faced Hillary Clinton at the ceremony here today. And I think there is really a sense now that he has an objective in mind. He will back his supporters. He wants their kind of trust and their loyalty in return. As for everyone else, just be patriotic, because patriotism will get you there in the end.
Kylie Morris. Now, Trump supporters have travelled across the country to be here today, some to witness a moment of history, some to cheer the man who promised them they would not be forgotten. As Kylie said, our crowds packed into the Mall to watch the ceremony, others gathered around town. Let's join Matt Fry. Matt.
Well, John, it was very interesting listening to Kylie just now, who spoke about the fact that there won't be much of a honeymoon. Well, to be honest, no one really wants a honeymoon here. The protesters don't want a honeymoon. Not even Trump wants a honeymoon. He wants to get on with the business of governing. And there's a very important point here, which is that, certainly in all the inaugurations that I've covered, even with some of the most unpopular presidents in American history, like George W. Bush, there was always that moment of rhetoric where they at least try to bring the nation together. That's what the American public expects from their presidents. That's what presidential historians look for. I mean, this country worships the office of the presidency like some countries used to worship monarchy. Presidential historians sift through every word that comes out of a president's mouth on these very big occasions. The quotes that will end up on America's tombstone were provided during inaugural addresses. Well, there was no evidence of that on the podium today, and frankly, very little evidence of that on the street. Watch. Every 4 years, in the dead of winter, Washington becomes a stage where the nation's tribes converge. And every 4 years, this particular ritual feels different. And I'm not talking about the llamas. Probably the only creatures in the city today who are politically neutral. This is different because the tribes are at loggerheads like rarely before. America is divided and apparently in no mood to make up. So is he your president?
He's not my president.
He's not your president.
Come on, guys. I don't know. I extremely disliked Obama.
Was Obama your president?
He was my president because he is the symbol of our nation, and people voted for him, and he won the election. I'm talking about Obama, and he was my president.
Someone that advocates for torture and stop and frisk is my
George W. Bush advocated for torture.
And he wasn't my president either.
Why?
Bloomberg. Because torture is wrong,
You're being
and it is fundamentally wrong.
And so the stage was set. A caravanserai of demonstrators. This lot don't need an introduction. But this lot do. Anti-Satanists for Trump from Ohio.
We're here on a gospel mission. We're here. We're glad that Hillary Clinton didn't get elected president of the United States. She believes she was of the devil.
And a few seconds later, the inevitable argument. In this case, Bible against Bible. Do you have anything in common, you two?
Nothing.
Do you have anything in common with him?
Yes, I'm flesh and blood and bone. I have a mind where I can think. I have opinions just like he does. I don't stand up against him and say, beat you down and say you don't have no right. I say, let's have a dialogue.
But dialogue was, on the whole, missing in action today.
We reject the president-elect!
And then, for a few minutes, it got ugly. But considering the sheer number of uniforms on the street, this was never really going to spill over. The crowds were much smaller and far whiter for the first billionaire businessman turned president than for the first black president 8 years ago. But for them, this was no less historic. Did you think this day would ever come, that you'd have a businessman in the White House?
No, because I was for Ross Perot back in the day when he was running, and Donald Trump is just like him. America is a big business, and it's going to take a smart businessman to run this country right, and he's putting America first, which I've said we always need to do. We worry about so many other countries, and we got so many American homeless and veterans that are suffering. We need to look after Americans first.
What do you say to the demonstrators down there who hate him?
You can leave.
Trump has attracted a different coalition of voters to Washington, fervent and fur-clad. Have you come to an inauguration before?
I have not. I'm here to support Donald Trump. I'm excited about the future of this country now.
What can he do for this country?
What can he do?
Yeah.
Change that we were supposed to get 8 years ago and 4 years ago.
And since Trump's biggest appeal is his business acumen, it was hardly surprising that commerce should play such a big role today. Are you making good money?
Yeah, man. You got, it's like Robin Hood. You steal from the rich, get to the poor, right? Thank you. Get your cash, yeah.
Say thank you, Trump.
Thank you, Trump. Love you.
But does he, Senator Ted Cruz, Trump's principal foe during the Republican race? How do you feel today?
Terrific, but we got to run to the Capitol
This could have been you today.
Well,
taking the oath of office.
I'm very glad we're changing the path we're on. We have the opportunity to do an enormous amount of good, and I look forward to working hard to accomplish that.
Despite your animosity with Trump before, you're going to work together?
Absolutely. Thank you. God bless.
After today, the trinkets, the hats and the badges will be put away. Whether they'll re-emerge in 4 years from now depends on what Trump actually does with his power, and whether he satisfies the people who put him here in the first place and made the unthinkable become reality today. It was their election, but it is our future. Now, it has been a largely peaceful day here, which is not what everyone expected. There were some small pockets of unrest, and I think we can look now at some pictures of riot police. There was some tear gas earlier. There were several dozen arrests, I believe, as well. But nothing as dramatic as the rhetoric of the campaign and the anticipation would warrant. And let's not forget, the main purpose of today is for the tens of thousands of Trump supporters who flocked to town to basically welcome their new president, and also to promise him that they will hold his feet to the fire in 4 years' time, if indeed he seeks re-election then. Well, let's talk to two Trump supporters here on the streets of Washington, Teresa from Arizona and Phil from Maine. Welcome to you both. So have either of you ever been to an inauguration before?
No, I never have.
Me neither.
So this was a big deal for you here?
It was a very big deal. A friend of ours wanted us to come, and so she supported us in coming.
I have to say, when I look at you both, I don't think of you as natural political bedfellows. I mean, why have you come together? This is the Trump coalition here, right?
Yes, it is. Well, I was for Trump when he first announced his candidacy a year and a half ago. And
what about you, Phil?
I'm just here for the change. I think he's going to make a big difference and make America great again.
Everyone I speak to says going to make America great again. It's almost as if that line has been kind of downloaded into your DNA. But what does it actually mean?
Well,
this is a great country, isn't it?
It is a great country, but we kind of strayed from our roots. And I think we're going to come back around. And like he said, we're going to become number one. Take care of ourselves first, and then go out and help others.
When Trump spoke today about the carnage on the streets of America, I mean, he's exaggerating. There's very little carnage on the streets of America.
No, I wouldn't say that. I think that we do have some problems here, and there's people that need help, and I think he's going to improve the education system, and that's been greatly needed as well.
Well, that's fair enough, but that's not carnage, is it?
Well, perhaps not. How would you describe
it's a problem, it's a crisis, but carnage is a very strong word.
Well, I think there are some crises in our country, and so that's why I think he's the candidate to help change America back.
How important is it that the nation comes together? Because what we see today on the streets of Washington, frankly, is a lot of division between Trump supporters and those who don't like him.
I think it's greatly important. The sad part is, I think no matter what he does, there's always going to be a separation. Even if he does everything he says, there's always going to be that side that's not going to want to believe.
Right. But what will you look for in 4 years' time, if indeed he'll seek re-election? What do you want him to do, and how tough will you be on him?
Well, I do believe that because he isn't a politician, he does know how to create jobs. He isn't a person that's been in the political system all of his life, like most of our politicians. And so that's why I believe he can do what he needs to do.
Okay. Teresa from Arizona, Phil from Maine, thank you very much indeed for talking to us.
Thank you.
So as you saw there, two Trump supporters, entirely different, both wanting the same thing for now, and promising to keep a very close eye on what Trump actually does with his power. We're all waiting to see. John, back to you.
Well, Matt Fry reporting there now against a background of building music for the parade that's to come. With me now, Julius Krein, editor of American Affairs, a new magazine backing Trumpism, and by the English writer and New York Magazine's contributing editor, Andrew Sullivan, who urged Americans not to vote for Donald Trump. Now, putting some intellectual backbone into Trumpism, which I think is your ambition, there wasn't much of that in the speech today, was there?
No, I agree. I don't think it's a speech that school children will be studying in 20 years for its rhetoric or anything like that. But at the same time, it did accomplish an important goal, which is showing supporters that he hadn't wavered from a lot of his positions during the campaign. And he maintained, by and large, his sort of bipartisan critique of the neoliberal policy consensus.
He didn't say how he was going to achieve any of these things he did say.
That's true, and he didn't do much of that during the campaign either. His success has come by offering a new critique, I would say, of both parties and how they have both cooperated in maintaining a failed policy consensus. But to date, there's still a lot of work to do in outlining the specific agenda of how he's going to fix it.
What do you make of it, Andrew?
I thought it was like a campaign speech, but a little toned down.
I thought the allegiance to the people was a real shot at this town, and also the norms and procedures of Washington, which he is coming to shatter and destroy.
He seemed very dismissive of his predecessors. There was very little, in fact, no reaching out of any sort, I thought.
There has not been a trace of magnanimity since he won. I mean, the insecurity of someone who's just become president of the United States is kind of staggering. But no, he seems incapable of that. The magnanimity you need to build a bipartisan support, to actually build support for his policies. He's coming in with a very low approval rating. He's had a transition that's been very rocky. He's upset a lot of people. He has won, I would say, not a single ally since he was elected, and has made more enemies.
I mean, it is interesting. I've seen a few of these inauguration speeches, and almost inevitably, even if they didn't mean it, they said it. They reached out in some way to the people they defeated and sort of brought the nation together. There was none of that today, was there?
Well, there were some magnanimous gestures, not necessarily in the speech, but toward Obama earlier, that sort of thing.
That's true.
I would say, again, Trump's rhetoric, the unity of it, such that there relates to, the patriotism rather than prejudice. Americans first. There is a sort of unity in that, and it's not the kind that we're used to, and it's not the type that we're used to. But again, we have to remember that Trump is a critic of both parties, and so the usual bipartisanship is different.
It's worth pointing out, too, that phrase that he used, the critical phrase, America first, was last used in the 1930s by people in America supporting fascism and the Nazis. It has a long tradition in this country that I don't think he's fully aware of, to be honest.
I think you want to say so.
But Charles Lindbergh, a Nazi supporter, that was his slogan, America first.
It was also Woodrow Wilson's slogan, and it's a bit of a trite phrase. It's rhetoric, it's campaign rhetoric.
But it was a fascist slogan.
But no one who's saying it now says it for those reasons. You know that.
Well, so
I hope that.
How soon do we see the red meat?
I think Monday. I think we're going to get an avalanche of reversals of executive orders. He's going to go through and destroy whatever he can immediately of Obama's legacy. And then it's on to stripping 20 million people of their health insurance.
Now, he can clearly do that if he can actually replace what he's going to destroy with anything else.
I think we should be careful here, because it's not just that Trump is fighting the Democrats. He also has big divides in his own party. And I don't think Trump certainly wants to repeal Obamacare and replace it with something else. But the push to repeal without replacing, that's more of a congressional-driven agenda rather than a White House agenda. There are plenty in the White House who this puts in an awkward situation, and they would rather not go in that direction.
Julius Krein, Andrew Sullivan, thank you both very much. I've no doubt we'll be seeing you again in the next few weeks. Thanks. Now, before we came on air, I spoke to the filmmaker and activist Michael Moore, who you'll hear from in just a moment. He was addressing the crowds protesting against the Trump presidency in New York City last night, along with a star-studded lineup of speakers, including Robert De Niro and Alec Baldwin, both of whom have constantly been critical of President Trump.
The president-elect said our country was a dumping ground for the world. Really? These huddled masses yearning to breathe free built our country and our lifeblood of our strong, diverse, beautiful New York City.
Donald Trump and Steve Bannon and Mike Pence and all these people that are part of the Trump administration, they think that you are going to lay down. Are you going to lay down?
Not my president! Not my president! No!
Are you
Yes.
proud to be an American today?
Well, it's not a proud day for this country. How could it be a proud day when a man who was not elected by the people becomes president of the United States? How does that happen?
Well, but the Constitution is being honored.
Yeah, well, the Constitution has said a lot of things in these 200 years that should have been honored, and people committed acts of civil disobedience. They worked to change the law. This has to change. I will not tolerate this happening one more time in my lifetime. The fact that twice in 16 years that the candidate who lost gets to walk into that house down the street, it's like, I don't know, how do you explain this to your viewers in the UK? You know, when whoever has the most points wins, right? Tottenham 2, Chelsea 1. Who won that game? I'm just asking you factually, who won that game?
In that case, Tottenham.
Tottenham won, all right? Now, how odd would it be if you, on the news that night, said, Chelsea won today, with one goal, and Tottenham got 2.
But what are you going to do about it?
This makes no sense.
What are you going to do about it, Michael?
Well, what I and millions of others are doing, we are going to be active every single day. We're starting with these first 100 days. We're calling it 100 Days of Resistance. And every day we are going to be doing various actions, and we're going to be encouraging people around the country. I mean, just look at the Women's March that's happening.
Supposing he does create jobs, supposing things move, supposing he is he's different from anything that's ever come before.
He will create, I'm sure he'll do a number of things that look good. There was a German a while back in the last century. He said, I'm going to give everybody a shovel and a job and a paycheck. Oh, by the way, Mercedes and BMW, you charge too much for your cars, so we're going to start up a car company for the people so that the people can afford to buy a car. Boy, they loved him. You know, they only got 32% of parliament in the 33 elections. 32% is all they got. He asked for a plebiscite the next year, and I think it was almost 90% approved after 1 year of him doing these things for the people.
But let's be candid. I mean, Donald Trump is not Adolf Hitler.
I didn't say that. I'm saying that to ignore history is dangerous.
It's all very well. There's a protest, but this has now happened. He is the President of the United States. So where do we go from here?
Well, part of it is the work that we're going to do, but part of it is the work he's going to do. He's going to be the best organizer that we could ask for, because when he starts to cause harm to our fellow Americans, people are going to rise up. They're not going to take this. They're not going to take it from a guy that did not get a majority of the votes of the people of this country. So, you know, and his thin skin, too, could be his undoing. I mean, I was thinking yesterday.
All you have to be now is vigilant, but there's nothing very
we're not
much
going to be. Vigilant is way too passive.
In practical terms.
What do you mean by practical terms?
Well,
you mean, can I remove him from the White House today?
He's got the levers of power. He's got the
does.
Congress. He's got.
That's right. And let me tell you something. The fact that he has shortened the parade today from like 3 hours to an hour and a half, it's clear what he wants to do. He wants to get in the House and start signing executive orders to undo much of what Barack Obama did. They're not going to waste any time. It's going to be a political bloodbath over the next week. And liberals and Democrats are going to be like, wait, what's going on? After law after law after law after law is being passed and sent by messenger up Pennsylvania Avenue for a signature, people are going to be like, wait. And it's like, see, this is what you have to really admire and respect about the other side. They have the courage of their convictions. They fight, and they're relentless.
But they now have the constitutional power to govern.
To mess up the world. That's right.
But to govern.
Well, that's a nice British word, but that's how I wouldn't call what's going to happen governing.
Are there any strands of hope?
Yes, he's not going to last in this job. That's just not. Listen, the man is a malignant narcissist. All right, that's a dangerous combination to have a narcissist like that who's elected to public office, because he's only thinking about himself. He's only thinking, how does this affect me? What do I get out of it? A politician who thinks like that, who has power, oftentimes will break the law, and I'm certain that's what we'll see with him.
Well, America will be presenting a very different face to the world tonight. Relations with a host of countries, from Russia to China, from Britain to the Middle East, are being rapidly reworked under that new mantra of American first. Lindsay, what's that likely to mean?
Well, it was a very aggressive and rather nationalistic inaugural speech. He didn't talk about working together or, America in the world in that sense at all. He didn't talk about the institutions which have, kept peace or might maintain peace. It was, if jobs have been created anywhere else, it's because they've been stolen from America. If borders have been defended somewhere else, it's because America's borders have not been defended. It's like a zero-sum game. So that was the atmosphere of it. But the one thing he did speak about very clearly was, as he called it, not Islamist terrorism, but Islamic terrorism, which he said must be eradicated. This is what he said.
We will reinforce old alliances and form new ones, and unite the civilized world against radical Islamic terrorism, which we will eradicate completely from the face of the earth. at the bedrock of our politics will be a total allegiance to the United States of America. And through our loyalty to our country, we will rediscover our loyalty to each other.
So what exactly does that mean? How's he going to do it?
Well, it's very unclear because it isn't as if people haven't been trying to do that for quite a long time. But obviously, it has to involve working with Muslim countries because it's Muslims who are really the greatest number of victims of Islamist terror. And he's not at all clear on doing that. He seems to think it's something that only America wants to do. And the other thing which I think you have to remember is something he said in a foreign policy speak a few months ago, which is that America as a nation has to be more unpredictable than before. Now that is why international leaders are looking at the President Trump with a lot of anxiety. The relationship with Vladimir Putin is the first thing world leaders will look at, especially since today's news that the FBI is investigating possible links between President Trump's associates and the Russian government. The two men have rather similar styles, strong men with a cartoonish masculinity in the place of ideology or knowledge. That worries European leaders, especially Angela Merkel. Obama's final phone call as president was to her, a sign of Germany's centrality as a US ally. Trump, by contrast, has indicated that he trusts her no more than President Putin. Mr. Trump has talked of a massive build-up of conventional military capability, warships and men-at-arms, but he doesn't favour military intervention unless American interests are directly threatened. The country he has been most belligerent about is China, blaming it for the loss of American manufacturing jobs. President Xi Jinping made a speech at Davos countering that. He's concerned about Mr. Trump's threat to recognise Taiwan, using political and strategic pressure for economic ends. In the Middle East, Mr. Trump is interested in only one country, Israel, where he backs Prime Minister Netanyahu's winner-takes-all approach with no concessions to the Palestinians. But international events test American presidents. With Ronald Reagan, it was the collapse of the Soviet Union. With George Bush, it was 9/11. With Barack Obama, it was the Arab Spring, Libya, where he intervened, and Syria, where he didn't. And we really don't know how a President Trump would react if, say, North Korea launched an intercontinental ballistic missile, as it has threatened. Because like the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un, Mr. Trump's guiding principle is unpredictability.
So let's explore this with Julius Klein, editor of American Affairs and New York Magazine's contributing editor Andrew Sullivan, who is still with me. What does this mean for we who are not Americans? And how do you read his interest in the international community?
He has almost no interest in the international community. He has attacked NATO consistently in a way that no other president has ever done. American presidents since the Second World War have supported the international order and seen America as the indispensable guarantee of that peace and stability. That is now over in a terrifying way. His model for government is not a democratic country. It is Russia, is Putin's Russia. That's how he wants to run the United States. I don't think he realizes he can't, or it's going to be a struggle if he wants to. I mean, he wanted to have tanks in this inaugural parade. He wanted cruise missiles. This is not a democratic person. This is not someone in the line of American tradition. It is way outside of it.
Well, I'm glad Andrew has his pulse on the inaugural planning committee, but with respect to NATO, in fact, people like Irving Kristol had written essays calling for the U.S. to withdraw from NATO in the 1980s. During the Bush administration, I'm old enough to remember everyone was calling France and Germany old Europe and talking about how we need to reframe NATO to deal with the new challenges of terrorism, whatever. The Obama administration has talked about getting more defense commitments from NATO allies. It's not that radical. His rhetoric sometimes tends toward the bombastic for reasons of his own, but in fact, changing NATO means strengthening NATO, and these things will have to be done to make it stronger.
But there is an immediate situation. We have NATO troops out on the Baltic borders against the Russians. We have Russian missiles being pointed in various rather alarming directions. You know, what happens now? What message is the outside world going to take from this?
It's a terrible message. It's a lack of American resolve. in defending these international institutions, not just NATO, but financial institutions, the entire interdependent global world that he's attacking. The message is that he's going to listen to Putin as much as he does to any democratic leader. He's paid more attention to him than to Merkel, than to May, than certainly to Hollande, and he's trying, I think, to get elected Le Pen in France. I mean, this is a radical, far-right president.
This is very interesting because actually the last act by President Obama was to send a letter to Mrs. Merkel in Germany, and the warmth of the relationship which he talked about with her. I mean, is that all over?
I don't believe that it's over, but with respect to Russia, the media has certainly paid a lot of attention to it.
Because he said some extraordinary things.
And a lot of it, you know, they've made up, as we've seen recently. But, you know, with respect to...
No, I don't mean the suggestions of scandal, etc., but the warmth that he's expressed towards Putin and indeed towards the Russians.
Well, the reality is our policy toward Putin for the last decade or so has been one of shrill but impotent rhetoric, which conduces neither to containing a hostile enemy, if you believe they are that, or having pragmatic relations with them, which we have often tried to do in Syria and so forth. So I think that we do need a new policy on Russia. Whether Trump's works or not, we will have to see.
But the warmth that he expresses, is that not just as empty?
I don't really see it as warmth so much as just being more pragmatic.
I don't. I think he says specifically that he admires Putin for the great control he has of his country. He doesn't like Democrats. He doesn't like equals. He doesn't like having to share. He doesn't like having to balance things out. He likes to dictate.
But there's another flashpoint we haven't mentioned, and that's the islands in the South China Sea. Now, he's talked about those, and it sounds to us as if he does not particularly want to see the Chinese left in possession of them.
No, I mean, picking a fight with Beijing without a provocation, even before he's president, is just a mark of I think, I'll be frank, I think he's mentally unstable. I think he's temperamentally unstable. I think he could provoke a major international crisis.
Well, the controversy with China over those islands has been going on for a long time. And at the end of the day, it's not going to come down to what he says, but what he does and what leverage the U.S. can actually exert.
Just deal with the instability that Andrew suggests.
Well, you know, we all like to be on TV and say funny things.
But is it so funny?
I don't think there's any evidence that the man is mentally unstable whatsoever.
But you're going to be writing about Trumpism. And is Trumpism a definable and stable thought process?
Well, Trumpism exists beyond Trump. The issues that Trump raised and won on are not going away. Whether Trump actually addresses those issues and brings positive change, we'll have to see. He's been president for 20 minutes, but the issues are not going away.
Julius Klein and Andrew Sullivan, thank you both very much indeed. And after the break, from the latest, from the ceremonies here, we'll be seeing the military march and the rest of it. This is day one of Trump's America. Welcome back to Washington, and we're here overlooking the Capitol where Donald Trump was sworn in as the 45th President of the United States just over 2 hours ago, telling the crowds it was time for America first, telling his supporters, you will never be ignored again.
For many decades, we've enriched foreign industry at the expense of American industry, subsidized the armies of other countries while allowing for the very sad depletion of our military. We've defended other nations' borders while refusing to defend our own. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. America first.
The president hasn't wasted much time starting work. A series of policies have been posted on the White House website, while he's already signed a series of orders at the Capitol, mostly formal paperwork to nominate his cabinet and proclaiming a national day of patriotism. Well, now, for the United States, an entirely new era now begins. Smaller government, less regulation, curbs on immigration, and the demolition of President Obama's domestic policy, starting with universal health care. We're joined now by Betsy McCaughey, who is former Lieutenant Governor of New York and an advisor to the Trump campaign during the election, and Republican commentator Tara Setmeyer, who has been critical of Donald Trump. So both Republicans, but on different sides of the blanket. Betsy, what is it that secures your faith in Donald Trump?
His notion, his premise that America must come first, and he made that very clear in his speech today. Buy America, make it in America, put America first in foreign policy. The rest of the world may be apprehensive hearing this, but American workers want to be put back to work.
Tara, it sounds quite attractive.
Well, it's a populist message. That's what he ran on. Anyone who thought that Donald Trump's tone or demeanor would change, that he would pivot to becoming more presidential, that he would unify the country, is mistaken. He had an opportunity to do that today. Now, I don't think he quite did it. It was a regurgitation of his populist rhetoric during the campaign that ultimately did get him elected. But I think we need to be careful when we start talking about protectionist type of policies and ideas. You know, the phrase America First was something that was rooted in a darker time in our history during World War II, when it was the America First Committee that did not want us to get involved in World War II and was more sympathetic to what was going on in Nazi Germany. That's concerning.
That's
the
an illegitimate association, which I repudiate entirely.
That's history, and I'm sorry if you don't like it, but that's where Donald Trump got it from.
To try to associate Donald Trump with Nazism or sympathy with Hitler is just outrageous. He's saying America first because American auto workers want to be put back to work, and he's already put Ford, Toyota, and BMW on notice that if they want to sell cars in this country, they better make them here.
By offering hard tariffs and threatening Germany to put 35% tariffs on cars there. Protectionist policies don't work in trade. Just ask Herbert Hoover. We saw what happened when we tried to do that.
My father worked in a factory for his whole life and got put out of work by these kinds of global economic theories.
And how is Donald Trump
they sound great.
How
he is bringing them back. He's already bringing them back.
But here's the problem. 80% of the jobs, the manufacturing jobs in this country, left because of automation and other issues.
That's not true. Barack Obama claimed that, which is why he failed.
That's not true. And Donald Trump is offering a
Ford
false promise to
Toyota have already said they're bringing plants back to the United States.
Let me just suggest something that the two of you are illustrating, which is you are, after all, in the same party, the Republican Party.
Let me tell you, Donald Trump,
no, hang on a minute.
Republicans used to be for free trade. This is a new aspect of Republican, this protectionist,
That's right, and we are proud to say we are protectionists.
But there is division in America, and we thought it was right and left, or maybe Democrat and Republican, but it's now between families. The Republican family is burnt asunder.
Let me make it clear that Donald Trump said today he chastised the entire political establishment, not just the Democrats and Republicans. The people who have ruled in this city behind you have not looked out for the American public. They've looked out for themselves.
When you were Lieutenant Governor of New York State,
yes,
big industrial state too, did you look after the workers?
Yes, I did, and I want to tell you that I found the ethos of the political establishment in Albany as well as in Washington, D.C. revolting.
Well, look, this is certainly going to be a new era in Washington. I think Donald Trump will learn quickly that this is not about him. This is bigger than him. And as President of the United States, he's going to have to learn how to govern. This is more than just catchphrases and rallies. He's going to have to learn how to govern. And we have a Congress and branches of government that bring that kind of balance. And in order to accomplish those things, he's going to learn that it's more than rhetoric. And I don't know that today he did that. And it's something else that concerned me is I didn't hear one word about the Constitution and swearing allegiance to the Constitution of this country.
He did swear
he swore allegiance to the people, which is populist, and that can be problematic.
Authority.
Populist movements can be problematic, and nationalist ones can be too.
How is this country going to be brought together?
Well, I think it's going to take a little while. Obviously, you see that Donald Trump comes in with a low approval rating, unlike his predecessors. It's down in the late, 30s, 40s. It's going to come from him. He has to take that. He is now the president of the United States. He has yet to do that. He's squandered those opportunities.
Will bring this country together. The middle class is disappearing because the jobs have been taken overseas. Bad trade deals, bad tax policies.
All that's
but I've
true,
asked a question, which is how this country is going to be brought together. Now, that place over there, that Capitol, has Republicans and Democrats in it.
Right.
But what you two are illustrating is even the Republicans are split. And if those splits exist, how is he going to take the program through?
Well, let me tell you, Donald Trump is going to have a lot of support from the Democratic Party. He won big Democratic states in this election, what we call Rust Belt states in this country.
By a whisker.
Well, he won them. Union workers who were fed up with losing their jobs and being overtaxed.
0.25% of the vote
It only
in
takes
Wisconsin.
one extra vote.
0.25%.
Don't diminish it.
Don't forget he won the popular vote.
But Donald Trump does not have a core.
The Electoral College
Donald Trump doesn't have a core set of values. This is what concerns a lot of Republicans on my side. No, he doesn't. He goes whatever way the wind blows. That's what a populist does, and he's demagogued issues. So now he has to put that into play, and I don't know how he's going to do that. One week it's going to be, we're going to go with what Democrats say. Another week it's going to be, maybe Republican. He's going to have a core set of issues, because when the tough decisions need to be drawn, from where does he get that
Few
strength?
experienced politicians would say that core values are what separate Republicans and Democrats. The fact is, most of the people who have spent their lives in that Capitol behind us have very few values, and that's why Donald Trump was elected. It's
We
a
don't know what
political
Donald Trump's values
revolution.
are. We have no
I do.
idea.
I've known him for 25 years.
Well, what are they?
That's
Because
right.
he's all over the map on them. He's wherever he thinks the
Excuse
polls
me, if
should
you'd
think
stop
they should
talking, you
be.
could hear what they are.
I've been listening to this for a
Putting
year and a half,
America
I still don't know
first,
what they are.
lower taxes, smaller government, growth.
Betsy
He's going to
McCoy,
produce
we're going to
economic
get
growth.
used to these challenges over the next few months, but I'm very grateful to you.
Thank you.
And to you, Tara, for coming. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, there were some scuffles in the streets here before the ceremony began. Demonstrators dressed in black smashed car and shop windows before they were dispersed by police with pepper spray, with several people arrested. Over again to Matt Fry. Matt.
Well, John, there are maybe 96 people have been arrested. They will spend the night in jail, as hundreds, if not thousands of others will go to various inauguration balls. That is not the point of today. The point of today is that we find ourselves in completely uncharted political territory as far as the United States is concerned. Let me make 2 points here. Number one, the reason why presidents kind of reboot America's rhetorical batteries every 4 years is that this is a revolutionary nation at its inception that is an archipelago of different, often warring or conflicted tribes that needs to come together under the document of the Constitution, marinated, if you like, by the rhetoric of the Commander-in-Chief, which, even if it's not believed in, even if it doesn't last for long, creates that moment every 4 years when every American can feel, yes, this is my president. That has not been the case today, and that does not set the stage beautifully for the next 4 years. The second point is this: whatever Trump does, whether it's for the economy, whether it's for taxes, whether it's for allies like Britain, whether it's for foes like Iran, everything will be done on a transactional, one-by-one basis, just like a businessman. There should be no surprises there. This is going to be a president that will be judged from day to day, from tweet to tweet. And that means that all of us who depend on this, whether you're American or not, will find ourselves in rather uncharted, delicate, sometimes inspiring, sometimes positive, but also sometimes negative waters. And that is an entirely new reality for everyone, here and abroad.
Yep. John? Yep. John. Yep. John. Yep. Well, now we're just seeing pictures of Donald Trump at lunch. He's just been spoken to by Nancy Pelosi, who's the boss of the Democrats in the Senate. And I think, who is that? Is that George Bush? No, it's not. But I can see that Mr. Pence is there next to him. And there in that blue, smoke blue, is Mrs. Trump. And
I think that's Chuck Schumer just about
Chuck
to
Schumer,
the Democrats.
yes. Well, now you can hear I have got Kylie Morris here again. And we're now, there we are. We've got a very nice picture there of this grand lunch that is welcoming the new president of the United States. But Kylie is with me now. News from former President Obama.
That's right. The Obamas have gone to, left here and went to Andrews Air Base. And we understand that they're going on to California, in fact. But just before they left, they, in fact, spoke to the staff, many of the military at Andrews Air Base, of course. Over the years, that's been kind of a very important place for them. And interestingly, I think, again, we've heard from President Obama this idea that he is leaving, but he is not leaving his people, in the sense that he is telegraphing the message that there is still a fight to be fought and that he is with them. Let's hear what he said.
Knock on doors and make phone calls and treat people with respect. And that doesn't end. This is just a little pit stop. This is not a period, this is a comma in the continuing story of building America.
So, change is afoot.
Very quickly indeed. I mean, the Obamas have barely left the Capitol, and already on the White House website there are reports that any reference to climate change has been taken down. So already these huge policy shifts that we're going to see over the coming days, weeks, months, they're already underway. We understand that there will be executive actions potentially from President Trump in the next few days on some of his key issues. So the inauguration is barely done, but already this government is in a hurry. They're ready to go, they say, and they are moving forward.
Stand by for Monday.
Indeed.
Well, an historic day here in Washington, a new president, a new political future. We leave you tonight with some of today's most memorable images. But for now, from all of us here in Washington, that is Channel 4 News. Have a very good evening.
Or an etched-in compass. America first. America first. Together, we will make America great again. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you.